I mean, I think he's got the last couple of years and into this offseason that we've talked about. Again, I think it's a winning offensive player. It's a really tough out. He's a quality defender, so you have two-way value as well. And then we see some versatility also. He's gone out there and played some outfield. I think the biggest thing is we go down here down the stretch and then hopefully into October where we want to play guys that we feel like are winning type at bats, winning type players. He checks a lot of boxes for us, and hopefully will be a big contributor for us here over the course of the next couple of years. We've talked about a little bit internally. I mean, I think obviously, second base, left field, right field. I think that'll be the spots that we start with. I think again, if there's a day off for anybody on the left side of the infield, we have some other guys that can go over there and play. I think from our standpoint, the initial conversations internally, and then with Adam, I think second base, left field, right field, and then be ready to come off and contribute off the bench as well in a National League game where you may get a mid game at bat and then stay in the game. And again, I think that's exactly how the playing time's going to be divvied up. I think that'll be up to Jace, the coaches in terms of a feel for the pitcher that's on the mound, who's hot, possible injuries, matchups that we think we want to play, how we think the game will unfold. But again, it's just for us, it's a very valuable player. Not just for the next few months into next year. I think ultimately, like who's in the lineup. I think we're kind of subscribing to the fact that we feel like it fits for our team. We also feel like we want to get another quality offensive player and defensive player on our club, and we'll kind of sort through exactly what that means from a playing time standpoint over the course of the next few weeks and months. I think really a couple of days ago, I think we got a sense that another team had stepped up, and I think that team probably confirmed that for us yesterday. So we knew that. He's a good player, all-star player, leading the major leagues, maybe in hits, up there among the batting leaders. We feel like he's been an underrated player over the last, really few years, really since he's been at Mississippi State. So again, he fit for us. He probably fit for some other clubs, and my guess is there was some competition for him there at the end.
As far as the transition of bringing a new guy into your clubhouse, what are the factors that you take into account in terms of bringing somebody in that's going to match? And also, how much does it depend on the player? How much of it is the pre-existing culture that's already in your clubhouse to make a guy feel invited and welcomed?
Yeah, we're constantly talking about that. I think it's not like I've seen it kind of portrayed a little bit as, hey, get as much talent as you can, kind of throw it up on the wall, and we'll figure it out. It's not that at all. I mean, a lot of conversations with our staff, definitely with Jace. What we think fits with some of our players, honestly, kind of like how well we see this player fitting. Again, I think the more guys we have, I think we subscribe to all different personalities are welcome. I think there's guys that bring all different personality to the club, but guys that are gamers, winners, competitors, guys that have elite skill set, guys that can play both sides of the ball, those guys fit. And we think Adam, I think just all the homework that we've done, pretty confident that he fits with the crew. And honestly, I think conversations we've had with some of our guys and our players, I think they're open arms, like looking for another guy that can help us win a World Series.
I was going to ask you about that. The other guys in your clubhouse that may know, like Joe Musgrove, who knows him. How much does it help to have some players that have been around him and know a little bit about who the player is and the character that he has?
Yeah, that was I think again we constantly do a lot of homework, really dating back when these guys are even amateurs and coming up in the minor league system. But obviously, the most recent looks and the most recent information is always important. And I think hearing from a guy like Joe that you see how professional he is and the way he goes about his business, and he gave a very high endorsement for Adam. And I think that's all part of the information gathering portion of the deal, and then all factors into the decision. And I think that's part we feel really comfortable about, is that he fits our group and our culture. And it's nice to hear that from some other players or people that behind the scenes have been with them, and definitely some guys that have direct relationship with the player you're acquiring.
Hey, AJ, how would you assess where you guys are at 4 or 5 days away from the trade deadline? Are you where you thought you'd be, or are there maybe some missed opportunities to get closer to the top of the division that you're maybe disappointed about?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we've said it. We've had some good stretches of baseball. We've had some great stretches for different periods, throughout the season. Again, I think where we want to be is at the top of the standings, and we've got our work cut out in front of us. We've got to play more consistent baseball to get there. But I think we've put ourselves in position to play into October, and that's what you ask for at this point in time. Is like we've got a 2-month kind of stretch run here now where we'll be tested. Obviously, we've got got the schedule in August with some off days mixed in, which hopefully can help, and then we've got to really we'll play some contending clubs that all want to play into October and September. So, I think overall assessment, we put ourselves in position to get to October. Looking forward to seeing our team step up and the stretches that we've shown at different points in time throughout the year, do that consistently for the last 2 months, and and then see what we can do and get deep into the season.
Your team ERA is up over the last month or so. How important is it for you to add a starting pitcher this week before the deadline passes?
Yeah, I think it's just important to pitch better. I think pitching and defense is what's going to win championships. That's tried and true. And I think I think from our standpoint, it's like we have a lot of confidence in the guys that are on the roster. We'll obviously be listening and opening to what's out there here over the next 4 or 5 days, and it's got to make sense. But again, you see what Blake Snell when he took the ball the other day. You see what Joe Musgrove. We know what Yu Darvish is capable of. We know what Chris Paddock's capable of. Ryan Weathers is extremely competitive every time he goes out there and takes the ball, and looked healthy when he came back the other day. Our bullpen's been a force really all year long. I think a lot of faith in the group that's there, and pitching and defense is ultimately what's going to lead to whether or not we get to where we want to get to at the end of the year.
Hi, AJ. How far over the luxury tax threshold do you sense that Peter Seidler is willing to go?
Yeah, I mean, that's something I think we're in. I think for all of us, really, I think this is an area that we have not had to be too familiar with over the last few years. So I think it's kind of the first experience for definitely for us in the front office, kind of getting familiar with with the rules and kind of where things are at there. And I think honestly, I think it's going to be like more of an individual type, like the conversation in terms of what opportunities present themselves over the next 4 or 5 days. So most likely in those next 4 or 5 days, you'll be presented with some moves that either kind of take you north of that line, keep you right at the line, or take you south of the line. I think we're going to do what makes sense baseball wise, and also maintain some flexibility here. I think that's always important, is to have your eye on, both short and long term. So I think it'll be presented. We haven't, it's not any mandate one way or the other. I think we'll kind of evaluate what opportunities present themselves from a trade standpoint, and then decide at that point, hey, is this a decision that makes sense for the big picture of the organization? Is this a decision that makes sense for us trying to win a world championship, which is always the number one goal? And how each one of those decisions factor out for us.
When you have 3 teams in the NL West who are right there, all looking for the same thing, looking for starting pitching, does that in any way shape how aggressive you might be at the deadline?
Not really. I mean, I think you're cognizant of the fact that, like, hey, there's competition for these players, but I think we really focus mainly on what makes sense for us. And I think we've shown it. Some years we've been really aggressive at the deadline. Some years we've kind of stood pat and it just hasn't lined up for us. And ultimately, I never get too caught up in what other clubs are doing. I think that's when you make mistakes. I think for us, it's just what fits for us, what works for us. I think we know our players really well from a value standpoint. And if we line up, great. And if don't, usually those are the better decisions anyway. Or sometimes you look back on opportunities that you didn't force and didn't try to push through, and that leads to better decisions down the road.
You've got a guy who's got the most hits in baseball. So even as you're trying to juggle and be flexible and move guys around at different positions, which you guys have a ton of flexibility at this point, you can't really keep a guy with the most hits in baseball on the bench very often, or you wouldn't think you'd want to. So how do you manage that, keeping him on the field?
Yeah, I mean, I think there'll be at bats. I think part of the conversation with Adam himself was, hey, be ready for second base, be ready for left and right field, and then be ready to come off the bench. I think again, like we're trying to do something that as an organization we've never done before. Win a World Series. It's going to take a little bit of sacrifice. I think that's always Jim Jace's message. But we have a lot of guys in that clubhouse, in that room, that are looking to win. And I think that the nice part with Adam was, he made that clear that, hey, he's won at other places as an amateur, minor leagues. He hasn't won yet at the big league level. So I think he's going to be very motivated to do whatever it takes to win at the big league level. I think the other thing, Bryce, like competition is a good thing. I think, we have some guys that are very competitive players and, they want to contribute to success. So I think, again, like there'll be, I think they're gonna want those at bats, and I think they're cognizant of the fact that ultimately it's about winning a championship. And I think give it to Jason, the staff, to kind of sort through and figure out what are the best matchups and who plays when. And we're confident there'll be enough at bats for the group, and ultimately lead to wins.
And when you envision this as a possibility, picking up Adam, how often did you, in your mind's eye, think that he and Cronenworth would be on the field at the same time?
Yeah, we didn't. But it's not like a set. Hey, we're going to do this 5 days a week, and we're going to do this 2 days a week, and by the matchups that we're facing. But it's definitely not like formulaic where it's like, hey, we want to, we're going to get to this point, and they're going to be on the field 74% of the time together. I think it's kind of like who we facing, who's hot, who's hurt, who's a little banged up. What's the best for us that night? Who do we want coming off the bench? And then ultimately, Jace will set the lineup, and we'll go from there with it. And again, I think the fact that, that Adam could go out and play the outfield as well. There may be nights they're on the field together, but not in the same infield.
Hey, AJ, I'm just wondering, you talked a little about the pitching side already, but are you open to adding even more offense before the trade deadline somewhere else?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't make this deal, like with another deal in our pocket that that we were going to make. I think we made this deal very acknowledging that this is there's probably a pretty good chance that this is our group, like going forward from an offensive standpoint, and we like it. But again, like it's trade deadline week. It's the last 4 days before the deadline. We're going to examine, like you mentioned, we're going to look on the pitching side. We'll be open to hear what other teams present itself. And, I think we have some flexibility and some options, and that's always a good position to be in. I don't think there's anything that we need to force here in the next couple of days. So hopefully, if we're content lining up on what we have right now. If not, we'll be open to hear what other teams have to say and kind of seeing what presents itself. No, it's a real conversation. It's like every day, with the staff, front office group, we factor that in a lot. Is like, do we have, again, like I think we acknowledge over the last year and a half, this team's played really good baseball. Top, whatever it is, top 5 teams in the league in terms of like production, winning. Had a lot of exciting moments. They like to play with each other. In terms of on the field, they like to. It's a great vibe with the teammates. So I think that's a real consideration for us. And I think in any move we make, even like bringing in Adam, not touching your big league club to do it, you still factor all that in. So those are all like very real consideration. It'll be it's a real part of our conversations over the next 4 or 5 days. And ultimately you're looking for both. You're looking for the best combination of talent that gives Jace the most options and the staff the most options to give guys a chance to succeed. And you're looking for, make sure that you have a winning vibe, like with that talent on the field. So yeah, I think those are very real conversations we have every day, and with every move we make, we're consider that's part of the calculus for whether or not to make a move or not.